With 2013 being Australia's officially hottest year on record, the environment is front and centre. And as dire as climate change seems, it appears that it is just one of a number of threats to the world's ecosystem. Dr. Rhys Halter is an award-winning broadcaster, conservation biologist, educator and author, and he recently spoke about what he terms the war on nature. Welcome, Dr. Halter.
Yes, welcome.
Now, why do you call it the war on nature?
Well, the war against nature, it's devastating. Including the illegal harvesting of rainforests for palm oil and the trafficking of animal parts, it's valued in excess of $300 billion annually, and it now rivals that of drugs, arms, and human trafficking combined. OMG.
I was going to ask you what's driving this. It's simply cash.
Cash and a human hubris and disconnect from our planet of an epic proportion. As a matter of fact, there's a disdain for my best friend, nature. And it's got to come to an end, and it has to come to an end now.
When you say it has to come to an end, obviously it has to. You're saying that humans have to put an end to what we're doing. Is that what you mean? Because the alternative is nature will just put an end to it at some point.
Absolutely. Look, we cannot live without nature and our biosphere. But let me tell you this, nature can happily live without us. And we somehow, some way, we appear to have lost our connection. Our connection to Mother Earth starts with fresh water and food and air and clean soils and living coral reefs and thriving oceans. And right now, Liz, it is as bad as it's unimaginable. And no one, they're not talking about it. We're not doing anything about it. We're pretending that by spending 83 million tons of CO2 every day into our biosphere from burning carbon to give us energy is not doing anything. And irrefutably, our oceans are acidifying faster than the previous 300 million years of life. And in case you forget, 3 out of every 4 breaths of air come from our oceans, irrespective of where you live on the globe. In North America, 30 billion mature trees along western North America are dead because the temperatures have risen that quickly, enabling a native pine beetle, a couple of species, to take off and feed on a tear that we haven't seen in the past 200 million years, or the illustrious history of our conifers.
Oh, it's scary stuff, Dr. Halter. You've talked about the illegal harvesting of rainforests and things like poaching. I want to just focus a little bit on that, because I don't think we understand how things like poaching rhinos and elephants for rhino horn and for ivory are run with such military precision. Can you give us a little bit of an insight into that?
Yeah, it's so disturbing. We have basically in the Orient, we have a burgeoning middle class of about the size of the United States of America, about 330 million people with a lot of disposable income. And the income is fueling, in part, it is fueling the destruction of our oceans. It truly is staggering. The only way I can let's start first with sharks, and then I'll move to rhinos, and then on to my friends, the elephants. But let me give you some examples in the best way I can in human terms. many of the listeners, or some of the listeners, may have been to New York City, and they may have stood at the base of the Empire State Building. The Empire State Building, to its rooftop, is 103 stories, or about 381 meters. Mm-hmm. Right now, what's happening with our sharks since 2006, 73 million sharks annually have been slaughtered. That's about 600 million animals. That's enough to fill the Empire State Building with dead shark bodies 17 times, or one building every 21 days annually. And their numbers are plummeting because they're not being allowed to reproduce. And so therefore right now, 90% of all the sharks that have withstood the test of 400 million years on planet Earth are gone for their shark fins. Their shark fins, Liz, have absolutely no nutritional value. This was some lore that the kings of 1,000 years ago, when there were 10 or 20 million people on our planet, it occasionally ate. Now, shark fin soup is the flavor, and it's around the world. We have it, and it's not banned in America. In some states, in California, we banned it. In New York State, we banned it. But you can still get it in Miami, and you can still get it in Dallas, and you can still get it in London, and you can get it around the world. And you know, here's the thing, and this is we don't mean to be disconnect, but let's go back to 101. Many people are sitting thinking, oh, well, you know, sharks, I saw them on my big screen TV, and they look pretty good. And, yeah, we really don't need them. That's flummery. We need these sharks because sharks, many sharks, not all of them, but many species are predators. And predators keep populations fit. They cull the weak, the old, and the sick, and they keep our oceans and our ecosystems vibrant. And our ecosystems are anything but vibrant today. That's the first thing. The poachers, the scourge of our planet, and the underworld, the mafia, the triads, the cartel, and others are running the shark finning deal. That's my first bear bug. The second one are these exquisite rhinos, a prehistoric, gentle herbivore. This is a critter that doesn't take it eats vegetation, for heaven's sakes. They're wonderful horns. This is enough to make a grown man cry. Their wonderful horns are 7 kilos. They weigh about 7 kilos, and on the stinking black market, they sell for $500,000 in cash. And they poach these creatures, but they do it in the most bloody and inhumane fashion. They shoot these creatures in the knees. They cut their Achilles tendons. They slice their spines, and they leave these beauty of a beast on the ground. And then they cut their horn off while they're alive, and they leave these beautiful, gentle giants to bleed to death. And why this is not on the radar screen, I have no idea, but it is on my radar screen, and I'll bang a pot from now till tomorrow and the days to come to bring it to people's attentions. There's only 29,000 rhinos left. Poaching has increased 5,000% since 2007. And within a decade, if nothing is done, the rhinoceroses that have lived on planet Earth for 50, 60 million years will be gone. And the same story is with these sentient, incredible African elephants. In 1980, we estimated there was 1.2 million African beasts left. Today, at most, there's 400,000 of them. Last year in America, we confiscated and crushed 6 tons of ivory. Earlier last year in 2013, the Philippines confiscated and crushed 15 tons of ivory. That's 21 tons in 1 year. How much more the black market is gobbling up, unknown, and it's vast quantities. The beasts are doomed, and on this goes. What kind of a world are we leaving for our children?
That is.
Earthlings must wake up here.
That is, I guess, the real question. My guest is Dr. Rhys Halter. He's an award-winning broadcaster, author, ecological biologist, conservation biologist, and educator. And you can hear in his voice just how passionate he is. And Dr. Halter, it's interesting. I'm going to get to that question a little bit later about what sort of world are we leaving for our children. But it is heartbreaking to hear about how these rhinos are poached and what happens to elephants as well. I'm reading some of a transcript of a speech you gave on ABC Radio National a month or so ago. You talk about these organised gangs from who go into Kruger National Park of 4 to 6 men. They're well armed. They're carrying devices facilitating constant communications. They infiltrate communities, buy information on rhino whereabouts, and then devise 2 escape routes, while at the same time familiarising themselves with security structures and movements of park rangers. It's cold, calculated, ruthless murder. That sort of stuff is pretty hard to combat, isn't it, for governments?
Well, it might be hard to. It is, and it's awful, and it's taking place, and it must stop. All of this petty other stuff of and it is petty. We either are going to learn how to live on our planet, coexist with other animals, or this is endgame. And anybody out there who's talking about 2100, they ought to give their head a shake. We are fighting in the trenches right now. We don't know if we can make mid-century. These are hard facts. These are what's going on right now, Liz, in our oceans. The oceans cover 70% of our planet. 70% of our planet. 1.5 billion human beings, their only daily protein intake comes from the oceans. What's happening right now in our oceans is an atrocity of the highest magnitude. It's ecocide. Each year, right now, we are taking the equivalent of 122 Empire State Buildings crammed with life. That's 2.9, every 2.9 days, that's one building. Now, I'm going to tell you what happens. What happens is if this does not stop, conservatively, my colleagues have estimated that sometime soon after 2040, our oceans will be completely lifeless. Is this what we want to leave for our children?
It's depressing.
Yeah, but you know what? We know better. We can do better. We have to do better. We can't continue to go down this line and think that it's okay to continue to destroy nature. And you know, I'm not gonna pull any punches here. Right now, I am absolutely furious of what's happening in Western Queensland. Western Queensland has the Galilee Basin. It's the largest coal deposit on our globe, and it's just been green-lighted to ramp up 5-fold. That's 240 million metric tons of coal every year that's going to be pulled out of there. In the meantime, the first order of day is to raise 8,000 hectares of the Bimblebox refuge. It's an exquisite ecological jewel. And that, I must say, is the only thing that rivals that, which is an OMG again. The only thing that rivals it is the grotesque despoiling of Alberta's exquisite boreal forests for its oil sands. We're contaminating fresh water, and we're killing our biosphere. I gotta say, nobody is talking about this, but whether you're a pauper or a prince, we all breathe air, we all drink water, and we all eat food. And if you don't believe me, take a look at the reports coming out of China right now. They're choking to death in cities, almost 20 million people, and burning coal. And here's my bear bug, and I can back this up, you betcha. That coal, the coal that's coming from the loot in Borneo and the loot soon to be up in Western Queensland, that's going to China, it's being burned. And not only is it choking human beings, but it's winding up off the coast of California, where I live, in the largest living animal in the animal kingdom, the blue whales, and the mercury, the methyl mercury, the neurotoxin, is at levels that scientists have never seen. They're off the chart that much.
So, Dr. Halter, this is you've talked about poachers, and they're very much, I guess, sub-government or almost guerrillas. You've talked about governments allowing these huge developments and mineral explorations. Do you think then, what's your call to action for the individual?
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's the deal. The real strength of our environmental movement is in the tens of thousands, even the millions of individuals around the world who are really making a difference, and they're doing it with pure passion. Because I don't want to give you a great example, and there are hundreds of these examples, but because of David Wingate, he's a Bermuda biologist, a Bermuda bird, the cahao, is living today. It would be extinct if it wasn't for one man. You know, I can't think of a greater legacy than because you lived, another species survived. I look around the world 24/7. I don't sleep much. And I see that there are individuals and individual people making a difference individually. And, you know, the social revolution that's happening now is being led by passionate individuals that are making a difference. I'm putting the call to action out to Australians. Aussies are tough people. Aussies are smart people. We got to stand up for our environment right now. You know, I'm not going to pull any punches, because right now the Japanese we have a worldwide moratorium on global whaling from 1986. But there are three countries that have a repugnant sense of entitlement: Japan, Norway, and Iceland. While the rest of the world has agreed not to kill whales, they have killed over 33,000 of these sentient creatures. Many of them are endangered. Right now, in the Great Southern Ocean International Whale Sanctuary, the Japanese are set to maraud at will for the next 90 poaching days. And Minister Greg Hunt, who was in opposition for 6 years, every time there was something about the whales, he said, when I'm minister, I'll protect the whales. Well, I can tell you what, there's no such protection, because instead of the $150 million state-of-the-art oceanic protector customs ship that is patrolling around Christmas Island, going south to protect the whales from a Australian High Court ruling against Japan being within the 200-mile territorial limit of the Australian claimed Antarctica. Instead of that happening, there's going to be an A319 Australian jet with customs people on it occasionally flying south. And so you know what's happened? The Sea Shepherd Australia is now left alone to do the government's role of enforcing Australian international law in the Antarctic region. Kudos to Sea Shepherd, because they're willing to protect the whales. And by the way, all countries in 1982, all 186 of our nations in 1982 signed at the United Nations the Charter for Nature. And by the way, Sea Shepherd is very legally right to be there to protect the whales, since nobody else is doing that.
Well, Dr. Holter, really appreciate your time. You paint a very grim picture of what's happening, but perhaps there's the opportunity to be optimistic about the individual's ability to do something, and congratulations on the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much. There is. It's up to us, we the people, and we're going to do it. We got to do it.
Good on you. Thank you, Dr. Holter.
Thank you.
There is Dr. Rhys Holter, award-winning broadcaster, conservation biologist, educator and author. And it is a grim picture. What do you think? 1300 65 99994 is the number to call, or 0467 922 684.